Good evening. Most of you who are in attendance know me from different hats I wear. Some of you know me from Carroll Community College. Some of you know me from the STEM initiatives, and some of you know me from the Islamic Society of Carroll County. I'm going to ask you to, for a few minutes, to share 3-4 stories, very short, but hopefully they will resonate with the theme of the night. I came as an undergrad from an Asian country with very little money. I came for an education. I didn't come from an asylum. And the stories I'm going to share with you, only one person in the room knows. So, Jean, thank you for having me. Mr. Harrison, thank you for having me. But you're going to hear this for the very first time, other than my wife, who's here. I didn't have money as a Harvard graduate. I was a Harvard student, a prestigious Afro-American school in Washington, D.C. I didn't have money for food. I would ration off, believe it or not, ramen noodles. I share that with you because of 2 reasons. One, my father didn't get the education beyond 3rd grade. He doesn't know how to read and write. So he would send me audio tapes. And in the audio tape, he would always end with what I'm going to end my presentation with. Fast forward, 1994, I had the pleasure of meeting Nelson Mandela. I was a student leader at Harvard on ramen noodles, meeting one of the most prominent leaders of our time. It was an honor. At that meeting, I fumbled, and I told him, I don't know if I can do this. And I was telling Gerald that I was doing chemistry. And I fumbled because I told him, I don't have money. And as soon as I said that, I was going to expect a response. And this is the theme of the Empowering Youth. I expected a response, you don't have money, and I have been in jail all these years and fighting for what I believe, and you are here, your parents, and everything else. He didn't. He said, what if I sit with you for 25 minutes more? I was 19 or 20 years old that time, and I knew his next meeting was with the president of the country. He was at Harvard, and he had to go out on the Pennsylvania Avenue and meet the president. And I remember the Secret Service saying to him, sir, you are on a timeline, and you have to meet the president. And he said, no. He sat with me. We talked. After 25 minutes, he said, dare you never give up. I never did. I got my bachelor's. I got my PhD. Believe it or not, no funding, all by myself. That's one story I share, not of me, but of Nelson Mandela. The second story I'm going to share, and I'm going to keep it somewhat scripted. This is about a young boy who was not that strong, stood in front of a commissioner who was well known for attack dogs in the 60s. So I'm going back. I wasn't born then. He stood up, and the commissioner looked at him, the same commissioner who had dogs and fire hoses at his command. And this young boy was marching just for the rights in the 60s. And the commissioner asked him, what do you want, little N-word? The boy looked at him and said, sir, we want to kneel and pray. The commissioner spat in his face, and the little young boy was thrown in the police van. I don't have the time to tell you what happened in there. Fast forward a few years, that young boy, who was no longer a young boy, got a call from his mom. And the mom had some tears in his eyes. He could feel that. And he said, that young boy said, why are you so sad? That man was awful to us. Her response was, he was someone's child. The mom's point was that he acted that commissioner, that the commissioner acted as he did because he was raised. Now, I'm going to read a quote by that young boy, but that young boy is in the room. I want you to look around and figure out who that young boy is. Any thoughts? Would the young boy stand, please? That young boy who was spat in his face, thrown in the police van, at a time when the system didn't allow him to progress, is now the UMBC president. But I want to not just end there with my second story. I want to end with Dr. Habowski's word about education, and I want the younger generation to listen to this one. I've often thought about that moment of mom's call. It was my mother's way of giving me her faith in life itself and in humanity, but it was also her way of saying, put your own experience in perspective. Part of being educated, and this is what he was talking about, and this is why we are here, part of being educated is being able to give context to whatever experience you have had. Those who are able to do that can think more clearly about the issues they face and ways to enable change in the world. My last story. I'm quite known in the county. I get to meet a lot of people, and people think I'm energized, excited, or whatever, but I do get tired. Recently, there was a huge statewide STEM event. At the conclusion of that event, or during that event, I dived. I said, I'm done. I just cannot do this. I don't know if it is worth it. I'm trying to get our college students, both at the 2-year, across the state, to get energized for STEM education, which is my passion. So is ours, and so is everything else, but STEM is mine. And I just didn't know that if I could do it one more time. It was my 4th year of doing it. Unknown to me, and meeting him for the very first time, words matter, and you heard him say that. And I brought something with you that is as dear to me as my father's first audio tape that I'm going to end with. It is a book by Dr. Freeman Habowski. And I'm not saying that because he's sitting here. The words that he wrote, that no one had ever said that to me. In my 4 years of running the statewide STEM conference, to my friend Raza, you are a visionary leader. Does anybody know what that means to me? Everything. What you heard were 3 things. 1, someone who could have ridiculed me didn't. Chose to sat with me, left out the President of the United States to sit with a 19-year-old while the Secret Service is trying to pull him out. Number 2, you heard a story about a young child who spat on, but his mom says no. Put a positive spin to it. And 3rd, I stand before you as I believe I've done my duties at the college as a community member, and yet a word written by a friend changes the entire perspective. So what am I going to end with? I'm going to end with what my father said. As a Muslim, and I didn't want to do this in a religious manner, but as a Muslim, we must start any good deeds with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, which simply means, in the name of God, the most compassionate and the most merciful. And then the words you might have heard, Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be to you. In essence, that is my presentation. Merciful, compassionate, bring the peace tidings to you. Now, I end with what my father, who couldn't read, who had only had 3rd grade education before the system took him out, had said to me on every audio tape. It is a very short verse from Quran. And it is not the language of Arabic that I don't know. It is not the religion. But those 3 words resonated with me to the day that I'm an educator. And I am now the president of Islamic Society, where I'm trying my very best, despite the toughest struggles in this county, to educate our young Muslim kids to be the model citizens. Those 3 words that helped me for about 25 years by myself, being the only person in this country with no family whatsoever, that my father would always say was Rabbi Zidni Ilma. 3 words. What does it mean? O Lord, increase my knowledge. O Lord, increase my knowledge. O Lord, increase my knowledge. What it simply said, that I had to get an education. And not just get an education, but it was my duty to move that forward on, to pay that forward on. With that, I say it again, Rabbi Zidni Ilma. Thank you.
That brings our program to a close this evening. We just want to thank everybody who came. We hope you enjoyed, and we look forward to seeing you in January and again next year. We're not sure who we're going to have, but I'm sure it'll be somebody sweet. Thank you.